Alright, we're back out here in the engine room. Last video we tore down this 5.7 Gen 4 Hemi that's going into my 2006 BMW 330. Found a bad lifter, bad cam, and a bunch of bad bearings. So in this video we're going to put it back together. Let's get started. Okay, down at the bottom of the cylinder is where the rings, basically where the piston stopped, the rings didn't clean the cylinder walls. There's like some built up gunk, so I'm going to go through and knock that off. And we'll start with that. Sprayed in the bottom some oven cleaner. Seems to be working pretty good. Just letting it soak. This stuff was really on there, but this is the first application on this side. I've already sprayed some over here. Gets most of it out. The rings don't go down there anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. I just didn't want to clog up all the abrasive pits or whatever that are on the ball hone. I just didn't want to get it all dirty and gross. So yeah, I'm going to keep cleaning this. I'll report back in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take some automatic transmission fluid now and a microfiber towel. This has like some detergents in it that will help clean off the inside of the cylinder walls, so I'm going to use that. Shot of brake clean and a clean shop towel. One more pass with a clean microfiber towel, dry. Let's get anything else out of there. It's got quite a bit of scoring in there. You just barely catch it with your fingernail. I think the ball hone will take that out though. all honed out. I'm going to do some more cleaning on them before I install the pistons and the rings and the rods and all that. But I wanted to get that done so I could get the crank in without having to worry about scuffing any of the journals on the crank. So now what I need to do is check bearing clearance on the crank. So we're going to clean all this stuff off, get the caps and the bearings in and torqued, and check our bearing clearances. Alright, so I've got a standard set Engine Tech bearings here. Let's wipe off the back of these. They ship these with a little bit of coating on them to keep them from getting any kind of corrosion on them, so we're going to wipe off the back of these because you don't want any oil on the back side of the bearing in between the block. You want this to be nice and dry so it doesn't have any chance of spinning. So pretty simple. Put the bearing in the tang and just squeeze it. Slides right in. Just like that. So we'll do that 4 more times. Side with the hole goes on the block side because it has the oil galley. So, notice on the tops of all of these, hold on. So, on the tops of these, see this little square right here? That looks like the tang cutout for the main caps. So, how I think they go together is opposite of how it looks like it was together. I'm going to Google, see if I can figure out why it's the opposite. BRB. Alright, so Hemis are kind of weird. Basically, the tang, you can see right there, is opposite of that one. You can tell definitively by looking at the top of this one and the bottom of this one that that's how they were oriented before. Went back and watched the video of me taking it apart. I could tell that this fat one goes in the middle and the arrow was pointing this way, and that puts the tang opposite. That puts the tang opposite of the crank side, or the block side bearing. So yeah, it's left to right if you're standing on the oil filter side, 1 through 5, the middle one being 3. This one in the middle, you can tell it's for the middle because it's got these shoulders on it which hold the thrust bearings. So yeah, got all the bearings installed, it's all clean, whatever, so we're going to knock these in and then torque these down. clean these off. Got some of this ARP lubricant here. Just put a dab on each of them. Alright, so this Milwaukee has a little cool little thing here. You put it on this one, as soon as it gets snug, it stops. So you'll be able to see that. So it looks like the torque specs are 20 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. I don't have an angle gauge for my torque wrench, unfortunately. So we're just gonna eyeball it, which, hey, it's my engine, so. All the clearances are within spec from what I can tell with my... I would use plastic gauge if I were me, but I'm not going to. So I checked the clearances with the bore gauge and the micrometer. I'm just not real impressed with my ability to use one of those things. They all seem to be within spec, so I'm not concerned about it. I'm going to put assembly lube in here and on the main cap bearings. Put the crank in the block. I almost forgot something. Almost forgot. Almost forgot the thrust washers. Almost. So these are counterintuitive. The grooved side goes towards the crank, smooth side goes towards the block. We'll just drop these in here. There's only one way that these can go in here as well, so that's kind of helpful. Okay, I was a bit panicked there for a second because it seemed like it wasn't going to move at all, but put a pulley on it, or the pulley bolt back on it, balancer bolt back on it. It actually does turn really nice now. I mean, I don't know if you can see me turning it. I'm turning it from like the top of the handle here with pretty low effort. I mean, if I go up here, it feels smooth, doesn't feel like it's catching on anything, so I think it was probably just the dryness of the crank and the bearings, needing some pre-lube on them. So it feels good. We're moving on. Alright, we have a small problem. Forgot about the side bolts, so I went to put those in. Torque them to 21 foot-pounds. Well, I guess the old bolts weren't too happy. So that's trash. I torqued the rest of them. I broke 2 of them off. The second one just because I was kind of mad, I think. So I torqued the rest of them to like 10 foot-pounds, and it actually makes this turn over much easier, which is good. I was kind of stressing how not easy it was to turn over, but now you can touch the crank weight and turn it over just fine. So I need to pull this main cap back off, drill those out, get those out. I ordered new bolts. They're like $3, but now I gotta wait a week and a half for them to get here. But if I take this off, drill those out, get them out, I can put that back on and move on, and then we can come back and put these side bolts in later because they're on the outside. It's easy to do. So small problem, but we'll get it fixed. So I'm gonna start on that. Alright, here's those bolts. Unfortunately, they broke off like outside of here, so I couldn't just take the cap off. I had to stick a die grinder in there and just grind away for like an hour. But we got it out, so now I need to drill it out and get these out. Contemplating trying to weld something to that, but I'm concerned that I'll just weld the whole damn thing together, so we'll see. Alright, just welded a small little booger on here. Oh wow, it's like not even really in there at all. Interesting. Okay, well, it worked. Can't see that. So, wasn't really even tied in there, which is good. You see I'm just turning it around. Well, it's still hot, or else I would grab it. Couldn't wait for it to cool off. I'm not patient enough for that. So I just left my filler rod down in this one. You can see that's all it needed. Just a little bit of persuasion. Alright, those are out. We can put this main cap back on, and we just won't have side bolts on this one, and we'll replace all of them at a later time. So time to work on checking the rod bearing clearance. Kind of back out here, piecing together how everything went together. You see on here the bearing tangs. Bearing tangs are on the same side on the rods, which is kind of like typically what you would see. I think the main caps were kind of an anomaly. I'm not sure why they were like that. The piston has an arrow on it, and that points towards the front of the engine. This is rod and piston number 1. So it would set on this side of the engine with the arrow on the bottom side, which would put the tangs on the bottom side pointed towards the front of the engine. That's kind of how they all line up. So I'm going to put the new bearings in it, check the clearances, and then set them to the side. Once we get all that done, we'll start gapping the piston rings. Okay, I just went through and got the pistons as clean as I care to get them. Now we can start setting our ring in gap and get the rods and pistons in there finally. So let's get to it. Alright, so I went ahead and put my oil control ring on all of these just to go ahead and get that out of the way. And then I put an old second ring back on this piston. So we're going to take our second ring. This will be for piston number 1. Slide it in here. And then we'll take this and use this to get it level. So it's already at 21 thousandths, so we don't need to go too much bigger, which is nice. We're probably going to take it up to about 30 thousandths on the top and the bottom. Let's get this ring filed down a little bit. Welcome to the OK Car Mods ring gapping station. Something else to note, top of the ring always has the writing on it. Just a FYI. Now all we're going to do is grind down the end of the ring. Now we go back to the engine and check it. Okay, we're back over here now. Same deal. Just stick it in there. Get it level and check it. So we didn't open it up enough, which is fine. You usually want to go in steps with this so you don't overshoot it. So I'm going to do this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I've done 2 rings already, so 14, after this one 13 more, because there's 2 per cylinder. So I'm going to do that, and alright, take some assembly lube, drop it into the rod bearing, and set that right there for just a second. Here's our piston ring compressor. I'm going to get some oil, put a little bit in there, wipe it around. Set this somewhere that's not dirty, which is nowhere in my garage. Move that over. We're going to pour some oil down in the cylinders. Get these oiled up. Alright, so with these, the arrow on the piston points towards the front of the engine, towards the crank pulley. Bearing tang goes down. So I'll slide this over that, tighten it down. Make sure that our rod journal on the crank is all the way at the bottom, so that we don't hit the rod on the journal. So that's all the way as far away as it can go. Oh, hold on. I forgot. You want to check and make sure your rod or your piston gaps are 180 out from each other. Okay, I think we're finally ready. You always think you're ready and then you're not. Okay, so get it laying level. Tap, 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 tap. You want the compressor to be sitting as flat as possible, and you just pop it in like that. So flip it over now. Ow. Okay, now we'll take our rod cap, put some assembly lube on that as well. And then your bearing tangs will line up like so. Take the rod bolts. Alright, now we can torque these to spec. It's 15 foot-pounds and 90 degrees. One down. Yeehaw. 7 more to go. Halfway there, guys. Let's knock out the other side. Alright, she's all back together. Spins nice and easy. And in the spirit of transparency, let's talk about everything that I did wrong, besides everything else that I obviously probably already did wrong. New things that I wouldn't be telling you guys that I did wrong unless I told you. Somehow, piston number 2 and rod number 2 and number 8 got flipped. I don't know how that happened. Also, the second ring on this piston got crunched by the piston ring compressor and broke. The second rings on these are very, very delicate. They're very easy to break. I knew that already just from playing with some of the old ones, but yeah, so made the decision to go ahead and just put an old one back in here. It's the second ring, it's not compression, it's the oil scraper more or less. I was like, you know what, I don't want to wait a whole week for another ring to come in. And so we're just gonna send it, see how it goes. And last thing, we broke 2 of the main cap side bolts. I thought I ordered an entire set, but I only ordered 1 single bolt. So we've got just your leftover regular bolt in there, right thread pitch, yada yada. And I just torqued them to 15 foot-pounds because 21 just seemed too tight. They all seem like they want to go from righty-tighty to righty-loosey at that stage. So yeah, that's everything. I think we can toss the new cam in finally. It's like I've been doing all this work and I haven't got to put anything new and cool and shiny in yet. So besides bearings, but I don't care about those. So let's put a cam in this thing. Okay, here's our Texas Speed Stage 3 NA cam. Let's stick it in there. Here's the specs for anybody curious. You can just go to Texas Speed's website too. There you go. Should be nice. Also, cut my finger open. It's a mixture of assembly lube and blood in between the bearings now, so that's good. Okay. Put the old cam bolt in here, give me something to hold on to. And some assembly lube. A lot of it actually. Alright. Now we just work this around here. Get our hands as messy as we possibly can. It's like step 2, I think, of the cam installation. Just get your hands as messy as you can. Alright, let's shove it in. Heartbreaker. There we go. There was a second there I thought it wasn't going to fit. I just need to get more leverage to get it tweaked. It needs to come this way, basically. There we go. Voila. I got a dang Texas Speed cam in here now. It's officially cool. All that work and effort to finally put the one part in that I was excited to put in. Yeah, I went inside and did some quick internet research to make sure I got the timing right. But basically you have a little notch up here. You put these two marked, there's two painted marks on the timing chain. You put them on either side of that up here, and then on the crank there's a dot and there's another mark on the timing chain, and you just line those up. Simple as that. Should have shown it before I rotated it, but I didn't. But yeah, so timing is set on the engine, cam is in there, everything rolls over nice and smooth. I'm gonna soak the lifters in oil. I think we should probably do that now. See all the bubbles coming out. Also, this Dollar General 10 weight 40 literally looks like it's used already almost, but hey, it's good enough for this, I guess. rotating assembly with plenty of oil in there to protect our cylinders. That's what I'm going to call it. We also have our lifters and trays in. So now I need to clean off this area. It's time to start working on the heads, get the valve springs swapped out. I'm going to have to go get a different tool. I've found one that can take the old ones off, but I can't get the new ones on with it. I'm going to go see if I can find a C-clamp style one. I think that will work fine. But yeah, let's get this mess cleaned up. And alright, I need to get this squished down so I can put the keepers in. I think the best way to do that, got this here pipe clamp, 15mm socket that fits on here real nice, on top of it. We'll weld that to it, cut some of this socket out, and maybe weld a little something on here so it makes better contact with the valve, and hopefully not ruin this $50 clamp. Got our socket opened up here, and the top part I kind of made into a ring that I can weld back on there to give us a nice little chamber there. So let's go over to the welding table now. I got my pieces prepped here. I'm actually going to use the clamp that I'm going to be welding to hold these together while I put a tack weld on them. Here's the thing about this, I could MIG weld this, it would be perfectly functional, and it would take like 4 minutes. But I'm learning how to TIG weld. So I'm going to TIG weld this. It's probably going to look hideous. Recording because I was just getting too irritated welding. Like I said, it's terrible looking. This up here didn't turn out terrible, or too bad anyways. It looks like I actually TIG welded it. This down here looks like, I don't know what to even say about that, but it does stick together, and that doesn't really need to be that like structurally supportive. It just needs to stick there so it stays in place. Also, it does work. So I'll demonstrate that now. So you take this, this back side, it just wraps around the other side and latches onto the valve. This is one of those things that there's a lot going on, a lot can go wrong. I already had the keeper fly across the room, or sorry, not the keeper, but the valve spring retainer. It really tries to bind up a lot of times like that. So it's not perfect by any means, but it does work. A magnet. There's one keeper out. You kind of put this down here. Here's the other one. And just let this back out. Okay. And old valve spring. Using the retainers, reusing them. New valve springs. Yeah, it can go wrong pretty fast. Halfway there. Another cylinder head is done. These heads are almost ready to go back on. I forgot to do one thing. This guy right here is the cam phaser, like the VVTI or VVT phaser, basically is what controls variable valve timing. Since we're running a higher lift cam, we don't want this. Basically, if you advance the cam timing too much, you could run into an event where you have piston to valve interference, and that would be bad. So we've got a cam phaser locker kit from Comp Cams that we're going to install. In order to do that though, I have to take the oil pump back off and the cam phaser slash gear slash reluctor wheel back off. So got our phaser here. Here's a little tool. You can just slide it right in there like that. And then take this, we're going to thread it in till it says till it touches it, basically. Okay, so it's touching it. Okay, so the Allen wrench that I have that fits is broken, but that's okay. So it says take. So you're going to get this down until it's touching here and then turn one turn from there. So we'll just go one turn here. Okay, that was one turn. Okay, we're going to loosen this one bolt. It's opposite of the dowel. It says don't completely remove the bolt or the spring will unwind. Okay, that is loosened. Now it says remove the other 4 bolts. Okay, so now we rotate this around. I'm going to place the lock into here. I don't know if it matters which one. It looks like on here it's this one. And then it comes with a little pipe plug. We're going to put some Loctite on that, drop it in there. Okay, I had to go buy some Loctite because, of course, I probably have 3 bottles of it, but I can't find any of it whenever I need it. So, I'll put a little bit on there. Drop this guy in here. Come on. But I think I've got it in there and functioning now. It's not coming out, which is an improvement from just a second ago. Alright. Let's clean our bolts off. Glue Loctite on these. The one with the pin, there's one long one. It goes back in where the tool is at on the other side. Okay, so I got the deck surface all cleaned up and one of these heads cleaned up. So this is the passenger side head. So we're going to throw that on there. I know it looks like there's still gasket material on there, but it's just stained on there. I spent several hours scraping these heads, so perfectly smooth. There's just some staining on the metal from the old gasket. So. First step. Now we'll go 40. And go 90 degrees. 15, 25 on these top guys here. I didn't like how that one didn't click, so I'm just gonna stop there. I'd rather this be like a foot-pound too loose than to break. So, ta-da! The heads are back on. Now we can put our push rods back in, or not back in. Texas Swede hardened push rods, quite a bit thicker. Got cracked. I flipped it over so you can't really tell, but I gotta go to the junkyard to get all the front accessories anyways, so whenever I go there, I'll just snag me one of these. So I'm gonna put this side on now. Battery's getting low, so I'm not gonna record it. Also, I just seem to screw up every time I record it, so yeah, bye. Had success once with this, we'll see if we can recreate it here. Construction screw, wood screw, whatever. Just gonna drill it into the top, it's just all plastic here. Get it in there nice. Pliers, like that. Pry bar, like this. Also try your pliers like this. There we go, we got it. So, just two more to do. Now we just take these here plugs. Pop them in. up the engine build video. It's probably not a very long video, and it took me like a month and a half between waiting on parts, finding motivation, and days off. But it's done. I'm gonna go build a shed in my backyard. Subscribe. See you later.